favorite Dragon Ball what-if ideas in the comments. Alright, no more waiting. Let's dive straight to Part 1. The air on planet Vegeta tasted of ash and desperation. Bardock limped through the rubble of what had once been the lower district residential sector. His armor cracked and smoking from his last skirmish with Frieza's elite guards. Blood, his own, dripped from a gash above his eye, but he didn't slow down. He couldn't, not when he'd seen what was coming. Frieza's death ball, descending like a second sun, planet Vegeta cracking like an egg. Every Saiyan, man, woman, child screaming as they were atomized. The vision had hit him 3 days ago, clear as day, undeniable as gravity. His strange ability to see fragments of the future had never been this vivid, this certain. He had 72 hours, maybe less. Bardock! Guinea's voice cut through the smoke, sharp with panic. She stood in the doorway of their home, a modest dwelling by Saiyan standards, but it was theirs. In her arms, wrapped in a standard-issue thermal blanket, was their youngest son, Kakarot, 3 days old. Already sporting the signature wild black hair of their bloodline, already possessing a power level of 2, pathetically low by Saiyan standards, but Bardock had stopped caring about power levels the moment he'd held the boy. Is it ready? Bardock demanded, stumbling through the doorway. His legs nearly gave out, but Guinea caught him with her free arm. For a low-class Saiyan, she was stronger than she looked. The pod's prepped. Coordinates set for a planet called Earth. It's in the outer rim, far from Frieza's territory. Primitive inhabitants, mostly harmless. Her voice cracked. Bardock, are you sure? Raditz is off-world, but Kakarot is just a baby. If you're wrong about Frieza... I'm not wrong. Bardock straightened, ignoring the lance of pain through his ribs. Definitely broken. I've seen it, Guinea. Frieza's gonna destroy everything. This entire planet, our race, all of it, gone in a flash of light. He reached out, touching Kakarot's tiny fist. The baby's fingers wrapped his thumb instinctively, squeezing with surprising strength.
This change in history is far worse than what we've seen so far.
Just.
Majin Buu was dangerous enough as he was before, but he's gotten much stronger now.
Away from all this. Away from
Let's
Frieza,
watch
away
out
from
from here.
away from the endless killing. Felt it his mate forcing certainty into his eyes, even as his heart shattered.
I'll be off striking near from another angle. You stay focused on Majin Buu.
Unshed tears, a rarity for a Saiyan. What if he forgets? What if he doesn't even know he's Saiyan? Then he'll be free. Bardock pulled both of them into an embrace, feeling Kakarot's tiny heartbeat against his chest. Maybe that's better. The ground trembled. In the distance, explosions painted the violet sky orange.
What should we do, Trunks? I don't know. I think maybe that weirdo will protect
Functional beeped frantically as massive power levels converged overhead. He didn't need to look up to know what that meant. Frieza.
What?
The tyrant
What's up, monster? You've reached a level any Saiyan would dream of!
We have 30 minutes. Platform 7 was surprisingly empty. Most Saiyans were either fighting or fleeing in larger transports. The attack pod sat on its launch rails, small and egg-shaped, built for a single occupant, designed for infants being sent on purging missions to low-level planets. Bardock had reprogrammed it himself. No purging mission, just survival. Let me hold him, Bardock said quietly, taking Kakarot from Guinea. The baby yawned, completely oblivious to the apocalypse unfolding around him.
Are you ready? Come on.
One more time.
This bitch is tough.
the body shaking from silent static. Nothing like that.
Stronger than ever. You have to support back up this
No change in his mind. Bardock. G'nai's hand covered his. You're doing the right thing. I hope
If
so.
that's your limit, you have let me down.
God hummed to life. The transparent dome slid shut with a hiss, sealing Kakarot inside. Warning lights flashed. Launch sequence initiated. Bardock and G'nai stepped back as the platform's magnetic rails charged with crackling energy. Goodbye, my son, G'nai whispered. Live well. Live free. The pod launched with a sound like thunder, shooting into the sky on a pillar of blue flame. Bardock watched it go, his scouting from the pod's trajectory. The atmosphere cleared the planet's gravity well and engaged its faster-than-light engines. Gone. Safe.
Is he on their side now, too? Something come back and
Fighting alone like you.
The last thing Bardock saw before the light consumed everything.
I hope you'll reach out. Listen up.
Toward destiny. Whis was eating a parfait when he detected it. This was not unusual.
It seems to have some semblance of motor skills.
As the angel attendant
Until the next lesson, then.
For Universe 7, Whis had precious few pleasures in his existence. Good food was chief among them, followed distantly by observing mortal civilizations, training the occasional promising warrior, and annoying his charge out of his millennia-long naps. What was unusual was the particular energy signal What's interesting? A gravelly voice grumbled from the floating
Looks
palace.
like you finally had enough.
Is it food?
I should
Please
thank
tell me
you.
you found a new restaurant. I'm so bored I might actually destroy something just for entertainment. Lord Beerus emerged onto the observation deck, stretching like the purple anthropomorphic cat he resembled. His golden eyes were still heavy with sleep. He'd only been awake for 6 hours today, a new record of productivity. He wore his usual attire, golden necklace and armbands, baggy blue pants, and an expression of perpetual annoyance. Not food, I'm afraid, Whis said cheerfully, manifesting his staff with a casual thought. The crystalline orb at its tip began to glow, projecting a 3-dimensional star map. Though this might be more interesting than cuisine, Beerus yawned, showing far too many fangs. I doubt that. What is it? Whis tapped his staff, and the star map zoomed in on a specific sector, the outer rim of Universe 7's northern galaxy. A small blinking icon appeared, moving at relativistic speeds. A Saiyan attack pod, traveling alone, and inside. The projection shifted, showing the interior of the pod, sleeping in their ground purple blankets, completely unfair. A baby, Beerus said flatly. You interrupted my parfait watching to show me a baby. Not just any baby, Lord Beerus. Whist's smile widened slightly, the closest he ever came to genuine excitement. A Saiyan baby with a remarkably pure energy signature, and based on the pod's trajectory and the current temporal spatial readings, I'd estimate planet Vegeta has approximately... He checked an invisible watch. 12 minutes before Frieza destroys it. Beerus's ears perked up. Frieza's finally doing it? About time. Those Saiyans were getting too uppity. Always threatening to become Super Saiyans, challenging my authority. Good riddance. He paused. Wait, why do we care about a Saiyan infant if the whole race is about to be extinct? Because, Whis said, his tone taking on that particular lilt that meant he was about to suggest something Beerus would hate. This infant has potential. Extraordinary potential. His power level is abysmal. Yes, barely 2 units. But his energy signature is fascinating. Pure combat instinct wrapped in an absolutely uncorrupted core. No malice, no cruelty, just raw potential waiting to be shaped. Beerus stared at him. Whis. Happy color. Color by number. Download today. It's
Color Oasis for adults. Totally free. No Wi-Fi needed. No annoyance. Reduce anxiety. Lower blood pressure. Get better sleep. Anti-stress coloring book. Download now.
Know what, my lord? Whatever you're thinking. No, absolutely not. I am not adopting a Saiyan baby. I never said anything about adoption. Whis tapped his staff again. The projection zoomed out, showing the pod's current trajectory. I'm simply noting that this particular Saiyan is currently traveling toward a primitive planet called Earth. If he arrives there, he'll likely either die, conquer the planet, or be raised by the locals, none of which interests us. Good, then let him go. Beerus turned to leave. However, Whis continued, as if Beerus hadn't spoken, the Oracle Fish did make a rather specific prophecy 75 years ago. You were asleep, naturally, so you wouldn't remember. Beerus stopped. What prophecy? Oh, nothing important. Just something about a warrior with a pure heart and Saiyan pride will redefine destruction within your lifetime. I'm sure it meant something else entirely. Whis took another bite of his parfait, humming contentedly. Beerus's tail lashed in agitation. The Oracle Fish's prophecies were never Wisdom's expression is the picture of innocence. Absolutely awful. His eye twitched. What exactly had to do? He almost take a second and go years back to Actually, as a god of destruction and his attendant, we can do quite literally whatever we want. Whis gestured with his staff, and suddenly they were surrounded by the vacuum of space. Teleportation was trivial in an angel. The Saiyan pod was visible now, a tiny speck of metal hurtling through the void. Want to? Beerus pressed his arms together. Wi-Fi was safe. Yes, said something. Destruction was set up by destruction must eventually. You've been avoiding this. There's strength and successor. Slow down. Which I'm not. Personally, close to the pod, peering at the scene inside. But hypothetically, if you train a successor, fascinating to shape the destroyer and further free from the collective influences of civilization. This child is a flowing sign of potential. And if the Oracle Fish is correct, The brat had a button scratch out. Scratch floating into the pod, pressing his face against the parts of the filter. The baby camera was in the pod pages, darkness, tiny tail twitching. They never did it. This was silent. I agreed to this insane plan. The first thing about raising children.
Don't you know how this is supposed to
Lucky for
work?
you,
What's
I did.
wrong with you?
Just tapped his staff on the pod's control systems.
You
Pass the exam.
I could intercept the pod's trajectory,
Don't think for a
extract the
minute we
infant
were
using
giving
temporal
our all.
spatial manipulation,
This was
then
a
float the empty pod and send it on its way to
Got
Earth.
that?
Anyone investigating would find it abandoned. No body, no trace. A mystery to the
Seems to
future.
have some
That's
semblance of
surprisingly
motive.
devious of you,
Until
Wiss.
the next lesson,
I
then.
have my moments. Wiss's eyes gleamed. Well, my lord, shall we let fate take its course, or shall we create something interesting? Beerus looked at the sleeping Saiyan infant, at his tiny fists clenched even in sleep, at the miniature tail wrapped around his waist, at the peaceful expression on his face, a peace that would be shattered the moment he landed on Earth and began his conquest programming. Or, fine, Beerus said, instantly regretting it. But you're responsible for him, feeding, training, cleaning up, all of it. I want nothing to do with the brat. Of course, Lord Beerus. Wiss smiled that knowing smile that meant he'd gotten exactly what he wanted. I'll take full responsibility. The angel raised his staff, and reality bent. Space folded like origami. Time stuttered. The pod's interior shimmered, and suddenly the baby was no longer inside. He was floating in Wiss's arms, still fast asleep, completely unaware that his destiny had just been rewritten. The empty pod continued on its trajectory, its systems none the wiser. In 3 days, it would crash land near a remote dwelling on Earth. An elderly martial artist named Gohan would investigate. He would find it empty and wonder. But that was a problem for another timeline. Well then, Wiss said, adjusting the baby in his arms. The infant stirred, making a small sound of discomfort. We should return home. I'll need to prepare a nursery, acquire sustenance, and determine what Saiyans actually eat at this age. This is the worst decision I've ever made, Beerus muttered, already teleporting back to their realm. Mark my words, Wiss. This will end in disaster. Or, Wiss countered, it will end in something magnificent. Beerus's planet was a place of impossible beauty, fundamental wrongness. The gravity was 60 times Earth standard. The atmosphere was breathable but thin, requiring visitors to acclimate for weeks before they could function normally. The landscape consisted of floating islands connected by energy bridges, massive crystalline trees that hummed with stored cosmic energy, and a sky that cycled through every color imaginable based on which universe's light happened to be refracting through the dimensional barriers at any given moment. It was a place designed for gods, not mortals, certainly not for infants. Kakarot woke up screaming.
Which foundation is good for a steamy situation? Alright, I'm going on a hot pot date. How's that? Right there. And you are. Let's say 3:30. I hope your date's actually steamy.
Uh-huh.
Same. Your beauty for people who get beauty. Only at Sephora.
Oh dear, Wiss said mildly, holding the infant at arm's length as tiny fists flailed. He's not pleased. I told you this was a bad idea, Beerus shouted from inside the palace, covering his sensitive ears. Make it stop. He's hungry, I expect. Saiyan metabolisms are quite demanding. Wiss floated into the palace's long hall, a vast space with pillars that reached into infinity and floors made of polished starlight. I've synthesized some nutritional paste based on Saiyan biological data. It should. Kakarot turned his head and vomited on Wiss's pristine blue gi. Or perhaps not. Wiss finished, completely unfazed. Lord Beerus, do we have any actual food? Baby food, specifically. How would I know? I'm a god of destruction, not a daycare attendant. Beerus emerged from his chambers looking thoroughly annoyed. He glared at the screaming infant. Can't you just, I don't know, put him to sleep with your angel powers? I could, Whis admitted, but that would be poor for his development. Babies need to cry. It exercises their lungs. He held Kakarot up, examining him critically. Although, at this volume, he may actually damage the dimensional barriers. Impressive lung capacity for a low-class Saiyan. Screaming intensified, his tiny power level spiking, 2, 3, 4, as his Saiyan biology reacted to stress. His tail unwrapped from his waist and lashed wildly. Then something unexpected happened. A tiny spark of ki, barely measurable, completely uncontrolled, burst from the infant's hand. It wasn't an attack, wasn't even intentional. Just raw energy expressing itself in the only way a terrified, hungry baby knew how. The spark hit one of Beerus's decorative floating orbs, a priceless artifact from Universe 10, gifted after a particularly successful planet destruction, and vaporized it. Destroy your priceless artifact? Yes. Whis examined Kakarot with new interest. Fascinating. He instinctively channeled his distress into destructive energy. And at such a young age, most Saiyans don't manifest ki control until they're toddlers at minimum. That's not fascinating, that's annoying. But Beerus was staring at the infant with something that might have been respect. The brat has destructive instinct. Raw, untrained, but there. Which is precisely why he has potential, Whis said gently. He conjured a bottle of milk, synthesized from his own energy, perfectly calibrated to Saiyan nutritional needs, and offered it to Kakarot. The baby grabbed it with both hands and began drinking greedily, finally quiet. See? He just needed sustenance. Beerus floated closer, studying the infant with narrowed eyes. You said his power level is 2. That's a pathetic number. Yes.
You're gonna destroy your Saiyan. My clothes got dirty. You guys
Maybe strong enough to serve as successor. But that would take decades, centuries. But then it's fortunate we have time. Baby. It has to it's rather hard. Kakarot, vegetable.
making a fool out of me.
Amazing!
You want to rename him?
Oh, jeez. You're strong.
Baby. Okay. In ancient order legend, it is said as a plot spoken by a civilization that destroyed itself. Here is a temple, excellent. It has multiple that's mainstream. All where considered evidence. Speaking for God is well. Try to put it action. It's not public. They inherited it. It's how it becomes. Unless you have objections. I have objections. It's how it's conventional. But fine, good. It's better than Kakarot, I suppose. Less likely to remind him he's supposed to be a barbarian clinic. Excellent. Whis conjured a cradle, an elegant thing made of crystallized stone around it, and two-dimensional barriers to everything strong. Carefully worked into the sound. The cradle, watching the babies come and chest down. Gale was wrapped in his own fingers. I still think it's good. I still thought about the dinosaur. I really still got it. Those dinosaurs might be kind of arduous on the strip. The gas is as long as the raising a god of destruction of infancy. That's at least 10,000 meditation. Oh, 10,000 meditation. Absolutely. He shaved what it meant to be a child. Then it was turned to the gods. All same. But despite his complaints, Spears did not have they watched things. Something catched up. Hard off what this tiny, weak, impossible criminal is. Lord Beerus, wake up! Goku's done it again. Beerus bolted upright from his nap pod. A luxurious floating bed surrounded by pillows made from the clouds of peaceful civilizations. And immediately regretted it. His mouth tasted like he'd been chewing cosmic dust. How long had he been asleep this time? What year is it? He mumbled. Age 742, my lord. You've been asleep for 6 months. Whis appeared at the pod's entrance, looking unusually agitated. Well, agitated for Whis. He was frowning instead of smiling. We have a situation. What kind of situation? Beerus rubbed his eyes, trying to wake up properly. And where's the brat? Please tell me he hasn't destroyed my breakfast again. Nothing so simple. Whis gestured with his staff, and the pod's walls became transparent, showing the view outside. Beerus's favorite food planet, a lush world in Universe 7's southern quadrant, home to the most delicious grilled fish in 3 galaxies, was gone. Not destroyed in the sense of exploded, just gone. In its place was a debris field and a rapidly dissipating energy signature that Beerus recognized immediately. No, Beerus said slowly. He didn't.
Last time he breaks crucial. What is my son? He's a teenager. I'm looking for a teenage boy.
He did, was confirmed. Apparently, you told Goku that he couldn't have any of the grilled fish from that planet until he completed his morning meditation. He took exception to that. He's 5 years old. Beerus exploded out of the pod, his power level spiking high enough to crack the dimensional barriers around his realm. How does a 5-year-old obliterate an entire planet? Well, technically, he didn't obliterate it. He destroyed the star it was orbiting, which caused a chain reaction that, not helping Whis, Beerus stormed out of his chambers and into the palace's central courtyard, where he found the cause of his current migraine. Goku, age 5, sitting cross-legged in the middle of a crater, covered head to toe in soot and looking remarkably pleased with himself. The child had grown significantly in 5 years. He was small for a Saiyan, barely 3 feet tall, but packed with wiry muscle that came from training under Whis' supervision. His wild black hair stuck up in all directions, refusing to be tamed no matter how many times Whis tried. His tail was wrapped around his waist like a belt, twitching with barely contained energy. But it was his eyes that gave Beerus pause. They were Saiyan eyes, black, sharp, predatory. But there was something else in them too. A curiosity, a joy that Beerus had never seen in any Saiyan warrior. When Goku looked at you, he wasn't calculating how to kill you. He was wondering if you wanted to play. It was deeply unsettling. Hi, Lord Beerus, Goku chirped, waving enthusiastically. Did you see? Did you see what I did? Did I? Beerus's eye twitched. Yes, Goku, I saw. You destroyed my favorite food planet. But I did the meditation first, Goku protested, jumping to his feet. I sat really still for 10 whole minutes. Whis said that was the rule. The rule was that you meditate for 10 minutes and not destroy anything, Beerus shouted. The not destroying things was implied. Oh, Goku's tail drooped. Was that bad? Whis floated down, landing gracefully beside the crater. What Lord Beerus is trying to express, poorly I might add, is that while your destructive instinct is developing wonderfully, you need to learn when to destroy and when to not destroy. But destroying is fun. Goku's tail perked up again. And you said I'm going to be a god of destruction someday, which means destroying is my job. Eventually, yes, Whis agreed. But even gods of destruction don't destroy everything. There are rules, balance, purpose. He knelt down to Goku's level. For instance, that planet you destroyed, it provided food for Lord Beerus. Now he has no food. Do you think that was balanced? Goku's expression fell. No, that was mean. He turned to Beerus, eyes wide and genuinely remorseful. I'm sorry, Lord Beerus. I didn't think about you being hungry. I just got mad about the fish, and there it was. The thing that made Goku so fundamentally different from every other Saiyan Beerus had ever encountered. Remorse. Empathy. The ability to feel bad about causing suffering, even accidental suffering. It was going to be either his greatest strength or his fatal weakness as a destroyer. Apology accepted, Beerus said gruffly, his anger deflating. It was hard to stay mad at a 5-year-old who looked at you with those big, sincere eyes. But you're going to help me find a new food planet to replace the one you destroyed. And you're doing extra meditation every day for a month. Okay. Goku brightened immediately, his natural optimism reasserting itself. Then his stomach growled, loud enough to echo across the courtyard. Can we have breakfast first? Beerus sighed. Whis, please tell me we have food that doesn't require me to travel to another galaxy. We have plenty of food, my lord. Although, Whis' smile turned mischievous. I could teach Goku how to cook as part of his punishment. Saiyans need to eat constantly anyway. It would be practical. I want to learn to cook. Goku bounced on his toes, his earlier remorse completely forgotten. Can I make the grilled fish? I promise I won't destroy the kitchen. That promise is worthless and we both know it, Beerus muttered. But he was already walking toward the palace's dining hall, Goku running after him with Whis floating serenely behind. As they walked, Beerus noticed something he'd been seeing more and more lately. Goku's tail had started glowing faintly whenever he got excited. Not bright, just a subtle shimmer, like heat distortion in the air. It was a sign that the boy's ki was growing, leaking out in visible ways because he hadn't yet learned to suppress it. At 5 years old, Goku's power level had risen from 2 to 500. Nothing impressive by galactic standards. A typical Saiyan warrior would have 10 times that, but for a child, for some of Goku's baseline, it was remarkable. Whis, Beerus said quietly, falling back so Goku couldn't hear him. What's his potential? Whis watched Goku run ahead, laughing as he chased a butterfly made of crystallized energy through the courtyard. Limitless, I suspect. The Oracle Fish's prophecy becomes clearer every day. This child will redefine destruction. The question is how. And you're certain we can train that goodness out of him? Beerus gestured toward Goku, who had stopped to help a small bird that had crashed into a window. He's too soft, too kind. Gods of destruction can't afford kindness. Can't they? Whis' expression was unreadable. Or is that simply what we've always believed? He started walking again, leaving Beerus with the uncomfortable thought. Inside the dining hall, Goku was already climbing onto a chair, his tail wrapped around the seat for balance. Lord Beerus? Can I ask you something? If you must. Why do you destroy things? Goku's head tilted, genuinely curious. Whis says it's your job, but why? What's the point? Beerus opened his mouth to give the standard answer, because the universe requires balance, because stagnation must be prevented, because creation and destruction are two sides of the same coin. But something made him pause. He looked at this 5-year-old Saiyan, this child with a pure heart and killer instinct, and realized if he wanted Goku to become a worthy successor, he couldn't just teach him how to destroy. He had to teach him why. Sit down, Beerus said, pulling out a chair. I'll tell you a story about what happens to universes that forget to destroy. Goku's eyes widened. A story? With explosions? So many explosions, Beerus confirmed, a slight smile tugging at his lips despite himself. And a very important lesson. Goku scrambled properly into his seat, tail swishing with excitement. Whis conjured tea and snacks with a wave of his staff. Nothing too filling, since breakfast was still being prepared, and settled in to watch. He'd heard this story before, of course, but he was curious to see how Beerus would adapt it for a 5-year-old audience. 3 million years ago, Beerus began, his voice taking on the cadence of a practiced storyteller, there was a universe, not this one, Universe 3, that had a god of destruction who stopped destroying. Why'd he stop? Goku asked around a mouthful of Mickey. Because he got lazy, decided destruction was too much work, thought, why bother? The mortals seem happy enough. Let them do whatever they want. Beerus leaned back in his chair, so he went to sleep for 10,000 years. That's a long nap, Goku observed. Even longer than yours. Much longer than mine, Beerus agreed, ignoring Whis' knowing smirk. And at first, everything seemed fine. The civilizations in that universe thrived. They built bigger cities, invented new technologies, spread across galaxies. They thought they'd found paradise. But they didn't? Goku guessed, leaning forward. No, because they forgot something important. Everything needs to end eventually. Civilizations grow old, just like people. They become stagnant, stuck in their ways, unable to change or adapt. Without destruction to clear away the old and make room for the new, they just kept existing. Not living, not growing, just existing. Beerus's expression grew darker. Planets became overcrowded, resources ran out, species that should have gone extinct, predators, diseases, invasive organisms, survived and spread. The strong stopped fighting to become stronger because there was no need. The weak stopped trying to become strong because they'd learned helplessness. Everything became gray and stale and wrong. Goku had stopped eating, completely absorbed in the story. What happened? The universe started dying, Beerus said quietly. Not all at once, slowly, like a flower wilting. Stars burned out and weren't replaced. Planets lost their vitality, and the mortals, the same mortals who'd celebrated when the god of destruction stopped destroying, started crying out for someone to fix it. But it was too late. The damage was done.
Happy color. Halloween color.
God of destruction, wake up. Goku's voice was small. Eventually, the Baba, monster, that's his name, had a choice. He destroyed 90% of his universe and saved the remaining 10% only by keeping the tiny brothers down. What do you think he should have done? Goku's crying loud. His tail held his head. The sun pressed them. 90%. They were just inexperienced too long for us to have to see. Just but if he destroyed them, the rest of them Goku's face switched up. That's not fair. They get the outside. Surprise yourself. It's not a destruction position. It's fair. That's what it is to destroy today, there's that. If there's like this other slip down, Goku's outside. They are. Beerus reached across the table and hit Supre up there as well. The possible attack every single thing. That's the thing. The doctor's right. Goku's straight to something. Always with something. The guy's not. That's what this time not one. Step carefully. Then told him to right. Go to right. 5 to 10. And this time, his tail. He said it's a big thing. And it's taken this is what they underestimated how big distracted. Yes, Beerus admitted, because lying to the boy wouldn't serve anyone. I told Frieza to handle the Saiyan problem.
What's the matter?
Violent, aggressive,
I know you've got
no
more than
signs of
that.
ever becoming anything but planet-conquering barbarians. King Vegeta was plotting rebellion. If I'd let them continue, they would have destabilized multiple sectors of Universe 7. So, I outsourced their destruction to Frieza. Did you feel bad about it? Goku asked. The question caught Beerus off guard. It was necessary. That's not what I asked. Goku's eyes were still innocent, but there was something ancient in them now, something that saw more than a child should. Did you feel bad? Beerus was silent for a long moment. Then slowly, yes, I felt bad. The Saiyans were violent, yes, but they were also warriors. Proud, strong. They had potential if properly guided, but I was lazy. Instead of taking the time to see if they could be reformed, I took the easy path. I had Frieza wipe them out. He met Goku's gaze steadily. It was necessary, but that doesn't mean it was right. Goku nodded slowly as if something fundamental had clicked into place in his young mind. So being a god of destruction means making really hard choices, and sometimes feeling bad about them, but doing them anyway because they need to be done. Essentially, yes. Okay. Goku picked up his cookie again, seeming satisfied. Then I'll try to be good at the hard choices, but I'm still gonna feel bad sometimes. Is that okay? Beerus found himself smiling. A real smile, not his usual smirk. Yes, Goku, that's okay. In fact, he glanced at Whis. I think that might make you a better destroyer than I ever was. It happened on a Tuesday. Goku was in the middle of his evening training session, a brutal regimen that involved dodging Whis' staff while maintaining perfect meditation form, when he suddenly stopped, his entire body going rigid. Goku? Whis lowered his staff, concerned.
Find Calm with Color Oasis, a coloring app for peaceful nights. No ads, no Wi-Fi, just quiet joy. Soothe your mind, sleep more deeply. Download now.
My friend has never watched anime before, so I teamed up with Crunchyroll to send him some recs. First off is JJK, which is a good watch for veteran and new anime fans. Studio Mappa's animation elevates the already crazy manga fights. If you thought Season 2 was crazy, I heard that the pulling game in Season 3 is going to be even crazier. Next up is Freeren. This is self-explanatory. Amazing animation by Studio Madhouse. It is a slower story, but it is amazing nevertheless. If you're looking for a fantasy anime that's just on a completely different level, this is it. Won the Anime of the Year 2024 award. Guys, if you want to cry, Ranking of Kings, enough said. Peak characters, peak story, peak everything. I was crying by episode 2. If you want to find these anime or hundreds of others, I use Crunchyroll, which is the best place to watch anime. You can use their trial, it's free.
Are you alright? The boy didn't answer. His eyes had gone blank, fixed on something in the sky above Beerus' planet. One of the realm's 3 moons, the largest one, the silver one, had just risen over the horizon. Full and bright and impossibly huge. Oh dear, Whis said quietly. What's wrong with him? Beerus emerged from the palace, holding a plate of fish. He took one look at Goku and dropped the plate. No, Whis, tell me
Now, friend.
Goku's body began to convulse. His power level, normally a steady 500, started spiking. 600, 700, 1,000, 1,500. His tail unwound from his waist, standing straight out behind him, the fur bristling. The moon, Beerus shouted. Destroy the moon! But it was too late. Goku threw his head back and screamed, a sound that was equal parts human child and primal beast. His body expanded, muscles bulging grotesquely beneath his skin. Fur erupted across his arms, his face, his chest, his mouth elongated and his snout filled with fangs. His eyes turned blood red. In seconds, the 5-year-old boy was gone. In his place stood a 40-foot-tall golden great ape, its power level reading at an impossible 5,000. The Uzaru, Goku's Uzaru, looked down at Beerus and Whis with those red, mindless eyes. Then it opened its mouth and fired a massive energy blast that vaporized half of the palace's western wing. Goku! Beerus dodged the blast, his own power flaring. Snap out of it! The great ape didn't recognize him. It saw only movement, only potential threats. It charged, each footstep cracking the dimensional foundations of Beerus' realm. Its fist came down like a meteor, and Beerus barely managed to redirect it into the ground instead of his face. The impact created a crater a mile wide. My lord, we need to contain him. Whis erected a barrier around the Uzaru, but the beast simply roared and shattered it with raw power. His strength in this form is remarkable. 10 times his base power, and he's only 5 years old. I don't care how remarkable it is. Beerus fired a destruction beam, carefully calibrated to not kill Goku, just knock him out. But the Uzaru's instincts kicked in. It dodged with speed that shouldn't have been possible for something that size. He's adapting, Whis observed, floating safely above the carnage. Even in his mindless state, his Saiyan battle instincts are learning, compensating. Less commentary, more helping. Beerus grappled with the Uzaru's arm, trying to force it down. The beast responded by trying to bite him. Whis! The tail! Cut off the tail! Are you certain? Severing a Saiyan's tail can cause psychological trauma. Do it! Whis sighed and raised his staff. A blade of pure energy materialized, slicing through the air toward Goku's tail. The Uzaru moved. Impossibly fast. Its tail wrapped around Whis' staff and yanked, pulling the angel off balance for the first time in millennia. Oh my, Whis said, genuinely surprised. The great ape roared in triumph, then turned its attention back to Beerus. It grabbed the god of destruction with both hands and threw him. Beerus crashed through 3 floating islands before managing to stop himself. That's it! Beerus' aura exploded outward, purple and terrifying. I don't care if he's my apprentice, nobody throws the god of destruction. He appeared in front of the Uzaru in an instant, his fist cocked back. One punch, just one, and he could end this. Put Goku down hard enough that he'd transform back, learn a valuable lesson about losing control. The Uzaru looked at him with those red eyes, and for just a second, barely a fraction of a second, Beerus saw recognition. Not consciousness, not control, but something deeper. The beast recognized him as not food, not prey, not enemy, pack. The moment passed. The Uzaru's fist came down. Beerus caught it, held it, and slowly, carefully, Hal began to push back. Listen to me, you oversized hairball, Beerus growled. I know you're in there, Goku. Somewhere in that monkey brain, you can hear me. So hear this. You are not a mindless beast. You are my apprentice, my successor, and I will not have my successor lose control like some common Saiyan warrior. The Uzaru struggled, trying to break free, but Beerus held firm. You want to destroy? Fine, I'll teach you to destroy properly, with control, with purpose. Beerus's eyes blazed. But first, you're going to sit down and listen. He released the Uzaru's fist and delivered a single, precise strike to the beast's solar plexus. Not a killing blow, not even a particularly damaging one, but perfectly placed to stun. The great ape stumbled backward, gasping. Now, Beerus said, landing on one of the floating islands and crossing his arms. Are you going to keep rampaging like an idiot, or are you going to think? The Uzaru stared at him. Its chest heaved. Power radiated off it in waves. Then, slowly, something changed. The red eyes flickered. The mindless rage receded, just slightly. And when the beast moved again, it wasn't an attack. It sat down. The impact shook the entire realm, but the Uzaru was no longer attacking. It sat, looking at Beerus with those red eyes, and waited. Extraordinary, Whis breathed. Lord Beerus, he's actually listening to you. Of course he is, Beerus said, though he was just as surprised as Whis. I'm his teacher. Even a mindless ape knows not to bite the hand that feeds it. He floated up to eye level with the Uzaru. Can you understand me, Goku? The great ape tilted its massive head. I'll take that as a maybe. Beerus gestured to the destruction. A shattered palace waiting, the cratered landscape, the terrified birds fleeing in all directions. You did this. In less than 5 minutes, you destroyed half my realm. You know why? The Uzaru looked down at its hands as if seeing them for the first time. Because you lost control, Beerus continued. Because you let your instincts override your mind. That's what happens when Saiyans look at the full moon. They transform into great apes and rampage until they're either killed or they burn out their energy. He floated closer, close enough to touch the beast's massive snout. But you're not like other Saiyans. You're my student. And I don't train students who can't control themselves. The Uzaru's eyes flickered again, red to black to red to black, like a light switching on and off, fighting for control. That's it, Beerus encouraged. Fight it. You're stronger than your instincts. You're stronger than your biology. Prove it. The great ape threw its head back and roared. But this time, the sound was different. Not mindless. Not purely aggressive. It was frustration, struggle, effort. Lord Beerus was warned. The strain might be too much for a child his age. He can handle it, Beerus said firmly. He destroyed a planet because he was angry about fish. He can handle a little transformation. He placed his hand on the Uzaru's snout. Come on, Goku. Come back. I know you're in there.
Going
The
to
girl started taking his hand and Uzaru's eyes. The red faded Great Ape more. Yes, and those who distorted the rocks scraped together. And it was so complicated. Yeah, said roughly. Floated back, giving those arms space. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to sit there and not destroy anything else until sunrise. That's when the moon sets, and you'll transform back. Think you can manage that?
Too strong.
Uzaru nodded slowly, carefully, like it was afraid any sudden movement might trigger another rampage. Good. Beerus turned to Whis. Get the barrier ready, just in case, but I think he's got it. Remarkable, Whis murmured, watching the great ape settle into a sitting position, consciously restraining its own destructive urges. 5 years old and already demonstrating control over the Uzaru form. Lord Beerus, do you understand what this means? It means I was right to take him in, Beerus said simply. They spent the rest of the night there, God, Angel, and Great Ape watching the moon track across the alien sky. The Uzaru didn't move except to breathe, didn't attack, didn't destroy, it simply was. And when the sun finally rose and the moon set, the transformation reversed. Goku collapsed in the center of the crater, naked and exhausted and covered in sweat, but alive, conscious. Beerus caught him before he hit the ground. You did well, the god of destruction said quietly, carrying the unconscious child back toward the palace. Better than any Saiyan I've ever seen. Even your father couldn't control the Uzaru form until he was an adult. Shall I repair the damage? Whis asked, gesturing to the destruction.
Stop!
What's different about you? It's Chevron with Techron. I'm feeling so good. I'm getting unbeatable mileage and working on keeping those engine parts clean. Come on, what is it? I'm telling you, Chevron with Techron. Awesome decision on our part.
No. Beerus looked at the shattered landscape, the testament to Goku's raw, untamed power. Leave it. Let him see what he did when he wakes up. Let him remember that power without control is just destruction without purpose. And if he's traumatized, Beerus glanced down at the sleeping child in his arms, at the tiny tail wrapped around his own wrist in an unconscious gesture of trust. Then we'll deal with it, he said. That's what teachers do. Goku woke to the smell of burning palace. His eyes snapped open, and for a moment he had no idea where he was. The ceiling above him was cracked, leaking what looked like liquid starlight. His body ached in places he didn't know could ache. His tail was sore. Really, really sore. Ah, you're awake. Whis appeared beside his bed, holding a tray with breakfast. How do you feel? Like I got hit by a What happened?
Vegeta,
I traded
everything we've got. We'll teach you how to get to the next level.
Did I?
Just trust us.
That's what happened. Yes.
You'll die if you don't.
That's what they about me. No Saiyans never achieve conscious control of their Uzaru form. Goku space fell. I explored Lord Beerus' heart.
You broke your latent power.
This gesture really needs to show yourself. Don't be better Saiyan metabolism are constantly falling this out of adaptation. What is the Western Republic Palace, just in its course was obvious. Behind, floating islands that had surrounded the piles scattered. With explode through the air as if smoke. The sky
Looks like it's finally warmed up. This is going to be fun.
But standing in the center of it all was your fears. Goku, the god of the Goku's tail tweaked. Then steady down the steps of this float beside him with your voice and I'm sorry, Goku.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry.
I
I
knew
didn't
you
mean
could do
to.
it.
I couldn't control. I'm sorry. Look up, Beerus commanded. Goku raised his head, expecting to see anger. Instead, Beerus
You've
looked
come a long way.
thoughtful. Do
Seriously,
you remember what
I'm
happened?
impressed.
Beerus asked.
I'll have to
Suddenly,
face you in this form.
Goku's hands clenched in
Okay,
fists. I
let's
remember
get
seeing
to
you
it.
and feeling weird. Then I got really big